Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talking About Balls. I am Justin George, joined as always by Kyle Price. We are a little bit late because George is not here, and that's what happens when we're alone. Things go wrong, and we're late, but it's okay. We're doing a very quick episode, a little surprise episode for everybody, just until the Cavs tip off here in just about an hour. We obviously haven't done a show in a while. We haven't even had a chance to discuss the recent Browns draft, so we're going to do all that today. But first and foremost, Kyle, what's going on, dude?
Not much, man. Sitting in.
You were very glitchy, unless it's me.
Going home tomorrow. Thankfully, it's been a busy week. So, just sitting here waiting for the Cavs. Finish here, eat dinner, watch the Cavs, and go to bed. Kind of been a week. What about you?
Same. Pretty much living life, just keeping busy with Teddy and the family, and then watching a lot of NBA basketball, especially with the Cavs going into back-to-back series where it's looking like it's going to go 7 games. I don't know if you can hear me. You're currently frozen. I don't know if I think you're in a hotel right now, so maybe the Wi-Fi is a little bad, but yeah, you're currently frozen right now. Unfortunately, I will send you a text. Oh, and gone. All right, so Kyle's going to come back. Kyle had a little bit of technical difficulties. No worries, it happens. He's traveling, so you can only do as well as the hotel Wi-Fi is, and we'll have him back here in a second. But until then, yeah, basically we're just going to be talking about the Browns draft. George isn't here, so I asked him to just make it pretty simple for what we're doing today. Okay, this is it apparently. I was hoping for like our show logo, the big penis looking logo, to be taking over the screen here, but this is what George had in mind when I asked him earlier. I was like, hey, could you make us a background with just our logo? And he was like, oh yeah, I already got it. I'm like, all right, cool. I think he just meant he has the name, but I wanted the logo. I do like this background though. It's beautiful. Beautiful Cleveland. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the Browns. We do have Cleveland Browns Circus. Nah, we don't need that one today. We'll just do the intro one. So yeah, we'll stick with this. All right, Kyle is back. And here he is.
Can you hear me, see me, anything?
Yeah, everything's very good.
I don't know what happened. I mean, I'm dealing with internet hotel issues, but I don't know what you heard or whatever. But no, I'm sitting in Dayton. It's been a busy week for work. I just got to the hotel like an hour ago, so it's been go. But I go home tomorrow, thankfully, and that's pretty much it. My life is not exciting anymore. It's just work.
I know that feeling. Yeah, I caught most of that the first time. The main thing I heard was that you were traveling, and that's when I was like, okay, the internet's cutting out. So I was like, it's probably the hotel, but it happens.
So if I go in and out, I mean, for the most part, the internet's been okay here. But if I go in and out, just that's why I'll jump back in if I need to. Shoot me a text if I freeze or something like that. But we should be able to make do here for the next hour. So.
Yeah, this one again, we're going to do a very quick episode here. This one's just going to be for an hour up until tip-off for the Cavs. Actually, less than an hour, to be honest, because I don't want us to end at tip-off. I'd like to have a minute or two to like get settled. So we're pretty much going to go till about 8 o'clock. With that said, there's a lot to break down. The Cavs have obviously they're now in round 2 of the playoffs, taking on the Detroit Pistons in game 5 tonight. Very exciting. The first round, 7 games against the Toronto Raptors. We'll talk about all that later. We're going to talk a little bit about the Guardians. Guardians are playing well. Guardians are in first place, and the Guardians did call up a young Aussie, Travis Fazana. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Excuse me. And then we're going to wrap up with just the tip. But first and foremost, the main reason we're doing this episode is to talk about the Cleveland Browns 2026 draft and the rookie class they have coming in. I have the list here. We will go over it from start to finish. And you guys obviously were with us on draft night, so you guys know, or if you hadn't seen it, I was less than enthusiastic night 1. Nights 2 and 3, things got a little bit better for me personally. But round 1 was just, if you could make a list of guys I didn't want the Browns to take, these 2 would have been on it, and the Browns did it. And, you know, that's the one thing that sucks as a fan is that you can love and support players that your team have and you know, whatever. But at the same time, you you can also, because I do this like a lunatic, I do pre-draft work and shit. You can love and hate prospects, and then when your team takes a guy you hate, it's really hard to talk yourself into being like, you know what, I just have to love him now because I'm a fan of this team. It's really hard. It goes against your morals, and it's tough. So that's kind of the position that I'm in. I'm rooting for Spencer Fano. I'm rooting for Casey Concepcion. I'm rooting for Denzel Boston. But these are three guys I didn't want, would not have drafted if I were an NFL GM. And we'll talk about why. But we'll start from the top, Kyle. That'll probably be the easiest way to do this. We'll go over the pick, go over our initial reaction, and then we'll go over where we stand today. Are you feeling better about the pick now that you've had about a month to digest it, et cetera, et cetera? So I'll start with you, Kyle. Obviously, we were live together doing the show, so we know our initial reactions, but we can recap. What was going through your mind when, obviously, the Browns traded back? We know that. And then with the 9th overall pick, they draft Spencer Fano, right tackle out of Utah.
I mean, I think that was my pick. So mine initially, I'm like, yeah, nailed that one. That's what I thought they'd take. But I don't know. Honestly, I expected them to trade back. I wasn't too upset. I did not like them after thinking about it. I really didn't want them to go after the offensive tackle. I knew it's kind of made sense. We're trying to fill, I don't know, maybe go deeper on the line. I don't think our line is any issue. We've got a pretty decent line if they stay healthy, right? But at the same time, I get why they did it, But what I don't understand is, what we're going to be making this kid do. We're moving him to left tackle when he was a right tackle. It's going to be messy. It's going to be a rough time for him. But not surprised. I mean, I didn't hate the first round. I didn't love the first round. I was kind of meh, right? I was in the middle. Not bad picks, not great picks, but whatever. I really got more excited as day 2, 3, and 4 went on, though, right? I think the Browns fucking nailed it. We'll get more into those picks, but yeah, just night one, like you, I wasn't as upset as you were, but I kind of walked away with, it is what it is. Like I don't care, right? I was fine with it, but I really, 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 really loved draft class this year. So,
yeah, I mean, for me, when they took Fano, my initial thought was frustration because, again, I do a lot of draft prep. I'm a weirdo, and I studied up on Spencer Fano. He was a right tackle in high school. He went to Utah. He was there for 3 years. His freshman year, they asked him to play left tackle because they needed a left tackle, so he played it for the year. Played it okay. Now you're going to hear some misconceptions for people that have an agenda and that have a narrative that they want to fit. So you'll hear people that will say, well, he was an all-freshman or a freshman All-American. Now, when you say that to a regular fan, that sounds like you're saying he was an All-American as a freshman. Two different things. They have a separate award that is called a freshman All-American. He won that at left tackle. Now, if you look up his PFF grades, he graded in like the 50s. He was not good. He was literally like, if you're going off your grading scale from when you were in high school, a 58 or whatever he was, a 55, I forgot what the exact rating was, but I believe it was in the upper 50s, is an F. That's a fail. Once you're out of the 60 threshold, you're failing. So he had a failing grade as a left tackle, his one sole year that he played left tackle in college football. Then he moved back to right tackle, played right tackle for the last 2 seasons, and again, every year in high school. So he's played right tackle for basically 6 out of the last 7 years of his life. I don't know what he played in middle school, but I'm assuming it was right tackle there also. So he's a true right tackle. He also has things that, as a Browns fan with Andrew Berry, I've become a little more analytically driven, and I pay attention to those things. And some numbers don't lie when it comes to certain things. Sure, you can say, hey, a guy that only ran XYZ 40 time, they have little to no success in the NFL at XYZ position. You could say that all day. Sometimes you can go, okay, yeah, but there's an anomaly here or there. Sure. Same can be said for the other facts and figures, but I pay attention to that stuff. I love that stuff. I use it as gospel, essentially. So Spencer Fano has short arms, all things considered. The average arm, like literally like the bottom line you would want in a left tackle, is 33 inches. Most NFL GMs will not want a player with sub 33-inch arms playing left tackle.
Why is it always a short thing with us? Not to cut you off, but like I feel like every class in the last 3 years, it's either been short hands, small hands, short stature, short quarterback, and now it's short arms. Like, why can't we just get a big girthy motherfucker? Like, why is it got to be?
And that's what's crazy is like there were guys that tested. Like I didn't really like the prospect myself, but Caden Proctor, the offensive lineman, he's huge. He's built like a house. He's huge. But then Spencer Fano comes in and he's got like 32-inch arms. And again, the minimum almost every NFL team goes off of is 33, which is why these picks don't make sense for me as an Andrew Berry guy, because he's our GM. The picks don't make sense because he's going against all of his own analytics. If you use numbers and data, this should be telling you red flag, don't take this guy. Because of that, he has short hands. His hands are small, I should say, not short. But he has small hands for an offensive lineman, and he has short arms for a left tackle. And it's just going off the success rate of NFL players that have been successful with shorter arms. There aren't many at the left tackle position. So I think they basically drafted a right tackle, which is okay. I just don't think that the value is there for the 9th overall pick to take a right tackle. To me, just wasn't a good pick. But then on top of it, you're going to now spend this entire season trying to groom him into a left tackle, which is easier said than done. I know most people think real life is like Madden, because I know back in the day when I played Madden, you could pretty much put a guy at any position if it let you, and it didn't matter. It didn't affect anything. You could turn off settings, and he can go from, you could have Joe Thomas at left tackle, you could move him to right tackle, and he's still a 99 overall, or whatever. Like you could just do whatever you want. It's a video game. In real life, very different. So moving Spencer Fano from collegiate right tackle to NFL left tackle when he already has the hands and arms to his disadvantage, that's alarming. And then again, you have to now spend the entire 2026 season turning him into a left tackle. And if it doesn't work out, you can always throw him back to right tackle, sure, but you've wasted a year of his NFL career. And NFL stands for not for long. So, do with that information as you will, but that's my thoughts on the pick. Going back to that spot, I liked Makai Lemon, the wide receiver. I know he ended up going, 10 picks later or whatever, but there were some very good players that were available at the 9th overall pick that the Browns could have taken. I wanted Kenyon Sadiq. He was in my initial mock because I was just kind of thinking outside the box. And I don't like the pick from the Browns' perspective. I feel like this is you drafted a right tackle, which I'm not opposed to drafting good offensive linemen, but if you're taking a right tackle in the top 10, he better be as good as Penei Sewell from the Detroit Lions. And Spencer Fano, in my opinion, is not even on the same planet as Penei Sewell. So you use the 9th overall pick on on a good right tackle that you're hoping can play left tackle, and I just personally don't see it being successful. So that's my 2 cents on my thoughts, I should say, on the 9th overall pick. And then, of course, the Browns then drafted later in the first round with the 24th overall pick, where they finally took a first-round wide receiver, something Browns fans have been clamoring for what feels like decades, but it hasn't been. I mean, it has been a long time, but I think Corey Coleman was the last one, not good company. But the Browns aren't known for making good wide receiver picks in general, and they're also not known for doing it well in the first round either. So they take Casey Concepcion, the wide receiver out of Texas A&M. I got a couple thoughts on some things. Am
I just going in and out? Like, am I just freezing and not freezing?
It's kind of hard to tell. Sometimes it'll just look like you're like texting, and then all of a sudden you won't move for like a minute. And like, yeah, right there when I heard you say that, you were good. I could hear you clearly, but then you froze as you were saying it.
I was.
So right now you are frozen. You started saying something, and then it went like a robot, and I lost you. So I currently have nothing. But we'll try to get Kyle back here in a second. We'll let him do some troubleshooting. But for the time being, I'll talk a little bit about Casey Concepcion.
Sorry,
No, you're good, dude. I understand completely. You're definitely popping in and out a little bit.
Go on. I'm going to.
I saw a wave, so I'm going to take that as go. Anyway, yeah. So Casey Concepcion, wide receiver, Texas A&M. a little undersized, but I mean, pretty average size for the NFL in this day and age, and fast, good route runner. His only problem, a little bit of the dropsies. And with the dropsies, there are more statistics that I have and data that I have from company that he's fallen into. And this is dating back to like 5 years ago. Casey Concepcion had like a 10% drop percentage. His percentage in college, he dropped 10% of his passes. He also, again, when he got drafted, first or second round, this data I had showed players that had similar drop percentages. And it showed all of them, again, first and second round picks over the last like 5 years or whatever, every single one of them except for one player. And that one player is DK Metcalf. Out of the, like, I forgot how many players, 12 players or whatever, they've all been colossal busts. So basically the Browns have less than a 10% chance of Casey Concepcion being good just based on that data alone. Now, I know not all data is the same, and they all have their reasons for their drops or their problems and why they didn't make it in the NFL, but not every story is the same. I totally get that, but it's just bad company to be in when the odds are against you that a player with this drop issue taken in the first or second round goes to the NFL and is successful. One, and again, this is just dating back about 5 years or so was the data. And the only good one was DK Metcalf. I forgot the rest off the top of my head, but it was like Terrace Marshall from the Carolina Panthers. I honestly don't remember all of the people on the list off the top of my head. It's been a while since I saw the chart, but not good company to be in. I can assure you that. And
I think I fixed it. I switched to. I basically opened up my work cell phone and connected to that network, a hotspot, and let that. It's probably more stable than internet. All the people are coming back to the hotel right now, getting online, so it's probably making everything kind of wonky.
You are crystal clear right now, so that's perfect.
Perfect. All right, there you go.
So yeah, I was just going over some data that I had. I don't know if you could hear me, but I was talking about Casey Concepcion and the company that he falls into, and that's with his high drop percentage. Having a high drop percentage and being taken in the first or second round of the NFL draft over the last like 5 years, he falls into company with like Terrace Marshall, and I forgot all the names, but there's a list of like 12 people, and the only good player on that list is DK Metcalf. So the odds are against Concepcion for having a good NFL career. I can't tell if you're texting or frozen.
So I'm sorry, okay. I'm here. I'm just finishing.
I honestly wasn't sure.
I'm listening. Yeah, I'm good now. So
you didn't move for a minute, so I was like, I don't know if he's still there.
I play a really convincing dead guy, I guess. So I apologize.
Honestly, your mannequin skills top notch. That was fantastic.
I can play that mannequin thing from back in the day. But yeah, no, I can hear you crystal clear now. Like you're not wonky either. So like I can
okay, cool.
So yeah, I'm here. I'm just finishing a message, but I'm here.
No, you're good. I just wanted to make sure. It was very still. But yeah, so they took Casey Concepcion, the wide receiver out of Texas A&M. I gave my data. Don't love the pick. That's why I didn't like him for the Browns personally. He has a drop issue, and for me, that's just it's really hard for that to get better in the NFL. So for me, that's a huge red flag. So we have two players taken on night one. Both of them were on my personal do not draft list. And that's why it was hard for me to accept this as a Browns fan, because I want nothing more than the Browns to be good. And I trust my gut. I've been wrong before. That happens with scouting, athletes and, trying to guess on who's going to be good and who isn't going to be good. I've been very wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit up here and act like I'm perfect, but I trust my judgment and I trust my scouting. And so when I don't like a player, I stick to it. And if they prove me wrong, I'll own it. But if they don't, then I just go, well, I kind of saw that coming. And with these two guys, I just see it not being great. Again, Spencer Fano, I think if they keep him at right tackle, it's fine. I didn't like the value. I don't think he was worth the 9th overall pick. I know there was a
I'm okay with the KC pick because it was paired with who we took next, right? And getting those two picks together, I'm okay with KC's pick, right? But in the initial moment it took place, then I agree. I just wasn't a fan of that either, And then you sent me that video not even a week ago of him dropping passes. Yeah.
And yeah, so what Kyle's referencing is that, in fact, Casey Concepcion has locally, I don't know if it went viral per se, but locally at least,
If I
there
step
are.
away for a second, my food just got here, so they're gonna knock on a
Yeah,
door.
no worries. You're good. Kyle was talking about a video that was going around about Casey Concepcion, where he was dropping balls wide open at practice. And the funny thing is that everybody was trying to make up a bunch of excuses. The minute the Browns drafted him, you go on Twitter and there's people that are going, great, we drafted another guy with the drops, blah, blah, blah. Then there's people that are defending him and they're like, no. If you actually watch the games, he only dropped passes because of his quarterbacks and because of this guy and because of that. And they had a million excuses. And it's like, I wonder what's the truth. I watched Casey Concepcion. I watched Texas A&M games. I saw the drops. I'm never going to blame every drop on a player. So I'm not going to sit here and just act like they were all Casey Concepcion's fault. But at the same time, a lot of them were his fault. He's a guy that tries to start moving before he has the ball in his hands. And he has I would say it's a concentration issue. Hard to fix that as you get to the NFL. It's really difficult to fix that. But apparently the Browns think they can. And who would know about guys that drop passes better than the Cleveland Browns, where they have Jerry Jeudy. So perfect company to be in. The Browns, I believe, were up there for the league leaders of dropped passes in 2025, and they look to take the title again in 2026. We shall see. But Kyle, what were your thoughts on the Casey Concepcion pick?
I honestly, I didn't do much research on him. I kind of did quick research that day. He wasn't someone that was on the top of my radar initially. It wasn't someone that I really was high on, and he didn't really pop up on much of the research I was doing. So I really didn't know much about him. So when we picked him, I kind of had the who the fuck is that type thing, right? And so I had to kind of look into. It's kind of like Major League from back in 1989. Like, who the fuck are these guys? So I had to go back and do some research. But I'll be right back.
Yep. You're good. So Kyle had to do a little research on Casey Concepcion. Again, he wasn't a top listed guy. So I think that's the other thing too, is Browns fans kind of got a little obsessed with who they could possibly take at 6 when they initially had the 6th overall pick. And everybody kind of knew, like, if you ask anybody, obviously Carnell Tate, we're Ohio State people, so that one makes sense. And then there was Mekhi Lemon, there's Jordan Tyson. Basically a lot of people kind of, and myself too, but I also scouted a lot lot of these guys.
I think there was a lot better options at that point if you wanted a receiver. Like, I don't know what made him stick out to them in that spot. I wish we got some kind of like grade from Andrew Berry. Like, this is what I was looking for. This is what I wanted. This is why I picked this person over this person. You'll never hear that part, but it just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, and excuse me. There it is. Casey Concepcion is not much for an outside receiver. So when they initially made this pick, I was a little befuddled because, as Kyle mentioned, it made sense when the second round began. However, at the time, when you just look at the current roster construction, Concepcion as your potential number 1 wide receiver, for me, I was like, no, what the fuck are they thinking? So that's why I was really anti this pick on draft night, because it really drove me crazy. And just 2 guys I wouldn't have taken when you're clearly in a rebuild phase right now. Deshaun Watson's going to be in the last year of his contract. He's more than likely off the team. They're going to be going for a new quarterback next year. Who knows if Todd Monken survives, as it's going to be a long season, and Jimmy Haslam's been known to make some pretty rash decisions. So there's so many different variables to where I'm like, you took this guy who's a project, again, a right tackle who you have to now create to make a left tackle. And then you took a wide receiver, which, don't get me wrong, at 24, you're not taking a perfect, unpolished wide receiver. However, taking one with the highest drop percentage in college football is not a good idea when you're a rebuilding young team and most of your guys have drop issues already. It was just very head scratching. And again, as a Browns fan, I have to talk myself into liking these picks, which is easier said than done, but I am trying.
Just one of those things where, unfortunately, we don't know what we have until we actually put them in action, but we all can assume, just being a Browns fan and seeing what we've done with all these other picks, that people are like, oh, just trust the process, that we're probably going to end up talking about how horrible this guy is come game 6 or 7 of the season anyways. But I'd like to be proven wrong. It'd be nice to be proven wrong, right?
Absolutely. So. I'm the same way. Like, again, as a Browns fan, and that's where, like, people get mad at you when you talk bad about Shedeur Sanders. Truly has nothing to do with me, like, hating the guy personally. I just have eyes and I see a football player that I personally don't think is very good, and I don't see him getting better. So I'm kind of like, meh, I'm over you as a player. When I see a player and I realize they've hit their potential, in my opinion, and there's not much else you can do with them, that's where I'm like, all right, well, I prefer people to be off my team when they're not good in general, but then when you have one that has a cult following like Shedeur, it just makes it more annoying. So that's where it's like, if you have a bad player on your team, whatever, he's on special teams, it doesn't really matter. When you have a guy that has a huge following, that's where you're getting a little annoyed by it. And right. I kind of feel like Casey Concepcion, in a small way, just on Twitter, the night he got drafted, had a small like cult-like following where there were people going out of their way to like defend him and his drops and this and that. And it was just weird. And like little things like that just annoy me when there's so many people like sticking up for bad football, which Casey Concepcion maybe proves us all wrong. Same with Shedeur Sanders.
It's hard for anybody to really take a hard line on any side of the equation right now because he's never played NFL football, right?
Right.
We're only basing him off college. We're basing off a quarterback that maybe wasn't the greatest throwing to him. So who knows? A lot could change. And, you know, not that we're throwing a Pro Bowler out there to throw to him, right? But, I mean, Watson's, if he comes back half the person he should be, then I would assume Watson has at least a little bit left in him, you know, to go out there and actually perform. I would assume better than he did in the past, but we'll see.
Can't be worse. Cannot be worse.
It really can't. I mean, honestly, just embarrassing just what he put out there. But, I mean, we both agree. I would assume that he's your starting quarterback week one.
I've been saying it all along, and people just get mad at you for it. But, I mean, it is what it is. I'm just going with my instincts.
I'll be honest. I do like that. I do like the draft pick that they've signed Green out of Arkansas. I don't know what your thoughts on him are, if you did any deep dive on him, but just watching
I'm very familiar with Taylor Green.
Watching the highlights, man, I'm pretty excited about that pick. That was a pretty good pick.
Yeah, we'll talk about him. He was a 6th-round pick this year, so we'll get to him, and I have some thoughts on him. I like the pick too, and to me, we'll jump ahead a little bit, but the Taylor Green pick, to me, that should show all the Shedeur crazy people that like the Browns clearly don't think he's a fit, because what this does is you now put a 4th person in that QB room. Yeah, you're only going to hold 3 at most. So
I think
somebody's getting.
I think Leprechaun's gone. What's his face? What's his name?
It could be Gabriel, but at the same time, I'm not kidding. I said it all last year, and in the offseason, especially when Stefanski got fired and they were looking for a head coach. I said to a bunch of people, I said, whoever takes this job has to really think about it, because you're coming with the shit that Stefanski had to go through with Sanders, where the people were calling him a racist, and like he knows he's not. And I assume the Browns weren't internally going like, "Hey, Jimmy," or like Jimmy Haslam's not like, "Hey, are you racist by chance?" Like I know nobody believed it in the I hope not in the front office, but at the same time, there are dumb enough people to where like they might kind of think about it and be like, oh, maybe this guy is a little racist. And it's like, he's coached black quarterbacks his entire tenure in Cleveland. This one's just not good. And I thought about that for the new head coach coming in once they officially fired Stefanski. My first thought was, what guy taking this job is going to put his reputation and his career on the line for Shedeur Sanders?
Has Monken turned his opinion around in your head yet a little bit or anything, or are you still like?
No, for me, I need to see results before anything, and also like I know that we don't have a good quarterback on our roster right now, and that's your make or break point as an NFL team. So without a good quarterback, the Browns have no shot of being successful. Don't get me wrong, you can win games without a good quarterback. Plenty of teams do it. But you're just not going to actually be a Super Bowl contender. You're going to essentially be like the Cleveland Guardians of football, where you're good, you can make the playoffs, which is exciting. It's good, something to be excited about. But then when the real shit hits the fan in the playoffs and you piss down your leg like the Joe Flacco playoff game and your season ends abruptly and you realize, okay, we were pretenders, we were posers, that hurts as a fan. So for me, there's no moral victories. So yes, the Browns could go to the playoffs this year. They could go 10-6 or 10-7, I'm sorry, and get eliminated in the first round. And as a Browns fan, I'm not going to be that excited about it. I'm going to be like, okay, well, they need to do better. And I know the Browns aren't in a position to do much. So I need to see Monken just do a good job coaching, make smart decisions. I'm personally not expecting a ton of wins this year. But at the same time, hopefully it's not so bad that Jimmy panics and cleans house and fires everybody again. And like, it's just rinse and repeat. So that's my biggest fear. Is like, on one hand, obviously, I want anybody in Cleveland to be successful. So sure, I want Monken to do great. I want to win a Super Bowl with everybody on this roster. Like, let's go. But I'm realistic, and I don't see that happening. So now it's just a matter of, do I see Jimmy withstanding this storm to let the full rebuild properly happen? Because you fire your coach, you keep your GM. If you kind of stink this year, maybe you don't want to blame the GM, but you go, or the head coach, but you go, you've been here a little longer. I don't like the players. You're gone. And then now you're kind of back to square one. Now you're hiring a new GM who has a new idea for the team. And you're just like, it's fucking rinse and repeat. That's why good teams don't do full cycles of cleaning house and firing people that often, because you have stability. So the lack of stability is what scares me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just, some of the smaller things that I kind of like is that he does kind of like talk in press conferences. Finally, like he has a little more emotion to him. It seems like that's the only thing I can judge him on right now. Right, he's doing practices.
Right, that's it.
Seems like he's a little more engaged than Stefanski would give, and that's fine. That's who Stefanski is. He's stoic or whatever, right? But having someone to actually speak and talk to you is kind of refreshing a little bit.
I personally like Stefanski being stoic. I don't know why. I just loved when, like, I loved how pissed off it made fans. I think that was my favorite thing was you'd see a press conference and everyone's like, why do they even interview this fucking guy? He never says anything. And that always made me laugh so hard when I'd hear that, when I'd see stuff like that. So I loved his interviews. Monken, it's the opposite. Monken always says something stupid, and then all of a sudden it becomes a quote where, like, oh shit, he missed a picture and he did this and he just something stupid. It's never good news. It's like, I liked when Stefanski was doing press conferences because there was nothing, like, there were no jokes to be made. It was just straightforward. We're going to watch the tape. We're going to do whatever. You can't really do anything with that. Monken's all over the place. Like, Monken's swearing and, like, he's funny. He's a good interview. I'll give him that. He's entertaining. But at the same time, like, let me see it translate on the field. So
true. I agree.
We'll see how that goes. And one of the ways to help that translate on the field is by throwing the ball to second-round pick Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington. He was on my short list of people for the 24th overall pick. He was not on my short list. He was at the bottom, near the bottom of my list of potential people for 24. I'm not a huge Denzel Boston fan personally. Again, of all the wide receivers that the Browns could have taken, they took two of the guys that I personally would not have drafted. Denzel Boston has good size. Denzel Boston's a big dude. He's like 6'4", 6'5", something like that. Just doesn't really he's not really fast. Footwork is okay. His route running is nothing special. So he's just a big, slower wide receiver, which is the best comparison I heard, which actually I really liked, was Anquan Boldin. I would say that's his ceiling, is Anquan Boldin. Very similar players. So if he could be, 75% of Anquan Boldin, that's not bad.
It gives us that vertical threat that we needed. We need someone that's
for sure red zone threat, because you no longer have David Njoku, who, breaking news, I guess, from a couple days ago, David Njoku officially signed with the Los Angeles Chargers, so he is gone from Cleveland officially. But yeah, he was a big red zone threat, and the Browns currently don't really have one, or at the time didn't have one, because you had Harold Fannin, who's not very tall, Jerry Jeudy's not tall, Casey Concepcion's not tall, so you really didn't have many big threats for the red zone, and Denzel Boston is exactly that. Again, he's like 6'4", 200 something pounds. He's very similar in size to Josh Gordon. He's just not as athletic and naturally gifted as Josh Gordon, but he's similar size and player prototype, I should say. In round 2, the Browns also selected another player. They took safety Emmanuel McNeil Warren from Toledo, the safety. He was on my
big fan of this.
What's up? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He was on a list of guys I had potentially for 24. I know the Browns liked him a lot. They had him. They met with him a couple times in the off-season the pre-draft process, and he was a local kid, Toledo. So I know the Browns were kind of enamored by him, and they selected him. Very exciting, in my opinion, that they would do that, because safety is not really a position that you think about, and sometimes it can be pretty important. Like last year, the Browns took Carson Schlesinger, which is a great pick. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it. But they also took Quinshon Judkins, who right after Quinshon Judkins went Nick Emmanwori, who was a safety that I absolutely loved last year. If those of you remember me talking about how he was a perfect fit for the Cleveland Browns, he checked every box in terms of the RAS numbers, in terms of his age, athleticism, everything. He was perfect, and he went on to have a slow beginning of the season, but then towards the end almost surpassed Carson Schlesinger for Defensive Player of the Year. Truly, Nick Manowari was very close and ended up winning the Super Bowl with the Seahawks. So very good safety. So I understand how important that position can be, and I think the Browns got themselves a good one. He's huge. He's like 6'4", for a safety. That's crazy. And he's local. Again, local kid. He went to Toledo, hour away, but close enough. So nice pick right there. I love it. I know you were excited for that pick. We were texting about it.
Yeah, no, exciting pick. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I think anything after KC, the Browns in the position they drafted that player, I think graded very high. Low A's, high B's, the rest of the draft. So I'm excited about what else they got. So there's not what we're gonna go through over here. I mean, the rest of the picks is I'm not upset with any of these picks. I'm really excited to see what they do.
Next up in round 3, the Browns traded up a little bit to take Austin Barber, the offensive tackle out of Florida, who will more than likely in the NFL play in interior line. So again, an interesting pick because I think there were better players available there that actually play the position. So this is another example of the Browns drafting a player who's nine out of 10 people think Austin Barber is going to play guard in the NFL, and the Browns drafted him in the 3rd round. And that's a guy who they now have to start teaching how to play a different position. So they draft another guy that they're going to have to switch positions on. So we'll see how this works out. But I just feel like, there were better options to actually come in and be legitimate guards. But Andrew Berry had other opinions. So we'll see how that one goes. I don't know if you knew much about Austin Barber or cared much about that pick other than
I didn't dig much into that one either. No.
It's just depth. I wouldn't expect Barber unless there's, a couple of injuries at some positions. If we get really thin on the line, that's the only time I expect to see Austin Barber play this year.
That's the thing we had issues with last year, right? I mean, halfway through the season,
the depth is huge. Don't get me wrong.
We had like no help on the line. Like people got hurt and we were fucked. We were moving people around and we were kind of just band-aiding the rest of our offensive line. So I see why they're doing it, right? Even though we have a pretty decent starting line, these players kind of help, solidify that a little bit, which is what we needed last year.
And if it works, it's brilliant. Truthfully, when you think of the Guardians, I look at like Daniel Schneemann or I look at Stephen Kwan. I look at these guys that played multiple positions, and you have, you're taking these offensive linemen who naturally have been playing right tackle in college, and then they're now or left tackle, whatever, and then now they come to the pros, and you go, okay, you're a little small to play that position in the NFL, but we can play you at this position also. And if, God forbid, we ever get really thin at this other position, you're comfortable there to where we can plug you in. So you have the versatility is huge. If you're a guy and you can play right tackle, right guard, and left guard, you can play 3 out of the 5 positions. You're great because a team's going to eventually need you more than likely. So the more useful you are, the better for you. So if this works, great pick. If Austin Barber can come into the NFL and be a right guard, a left guard, and then if, God forbid, you ever run into multiple injuries, you throw him at right tackle, even better. This could be perfect. So it's smart if it works, but obviously you're taking a chance on a guy who's not polished at certain positions, and you're hoping your coaching staff can then polish him. And, the success rate of that in the NFL, especially for mid-round picks, slim, not many. They're very low. So we'll see what happens. Next up, the Browns took in the 5th round, they take Parker Brailsford, the center out of Alabama.
Duncan
good pick.
Duncan Robinson's out tonight.
Is he? He was listed as questionable. Him and I think Asor Thompson were both listed as questionable. That's huge. Yeah, that is going to void him on my bet slips.
Yeah, but good. That's a deep.
It's great for the Cavs.
Yeah, they were getting smacked around by him the other day. So
my worry for him tonight was he's a role player, and role players do what? They play better at home. So Duncan Robinson, when they were in Detroit, was shooting lights out. Came to Cleveland, and there was a lid on the basket. So I was worried about him tonight. I saw I forgot what app I was on, but it was Fanatics. a lot of times I'll make a parlay where I kind of try to get near the bottom of everyone's stats,
Yep.
like whatever the lowest they'll let me take. Cause I'm like, whatever, this is the lowest. If they hit it, great. If they don't, they don't. And Duncan Robinson's low was 5 points. And I thought, this dude's going to hit 2 threes at least against the Cavs tonight. So I'll take him for 5 points. And I think it was only like, I mean, again, I'm throwing it in
I've gotten screwed by him though in that 5 because I usually took him for 5 points too. But then I remember the one night where I'm like, there's no way that he doesn't go 5 points. And it was a regular season game. I think he had 2 points all the way to the end of the game. And he hit 1 3 to end it. So I got my 5 points, but he was like 0 for like 6 on threes.
Yeah, that happens. And that's
he just chucks it up there. I mean, that's what
I'd be curious to see if he was on the road for that night, because again, role players, if you take their under on the road, take their over on the at home, and your success rate's pretty good. Like, and opposite for some players, like Jalen Tyson, I took the other night for rebounds. I took him to get 4 rebounds because like Vegas had it at like plus 120 for him to get 4 rebounds. And I'm like, that's going to be easy. He got 4 in the first quarter. And then the next day I threw him in a parlay with 4 rebounds and he got 2 rebounds all game. So role players, that's role players for you, man. But anyway, so yeah, the Brailsford pick, he's just a backup center, more depth for the offensive line. Obviously, you know, out of the 6 draft picks, the Browns made, they took 3 offensive linemen right away. So clearly that's a position they wanted. 2 wide receivers, 3 linemen, and 1 safety. So they're addressing what they believe to be big problems, and I think everybody else would have agreed. Round 5, the Browns get Justin Jefferson. No, they did not trade a 5th-round pick to the Minnesota Vikings for Justin Jefferson. This is the linebacker, Justin Jefferson, out of Alabama.
Now that would have helped their receiving room a little bit, you know?
Yeah, that would have been nice. I wouldn't have been mad about that at all. But unfortunately, this Justin Jefferson plays on the other side of the football, and he is a linebacker. He is depth. We lost Bush in the offseason. Unfortunately, it's looking more and more every day like JOK is never going to play football again, which is devastating. But they do have Schlesinger. They do have Carson Schlesinger, who you hope is going to be here for the next decade. And then they signed Quincy Williams, the brother of Dallas Cowboy defensive lineman Quinnen Williams. And he is going to be our linebacker playing for Devin Bush. But of course, you always need depth. So bringing in Justin Jefferson is just another body. He'll probably play a lot of special teams, and he'll come in every once in a while on defense in the regular season. But just depth. He's just another body on the team. I don't expect him to contribute much early.
Holes. You know, you're trying
to that's it. You needed it. So,
well, I should say you're backfilling predicted spots that you're going to have because of injuries. Yeah.
Yeah. You expect to go through a couple linebackers in a season, so it's good to have them. Another position this is why I had the Browns drafting. I predicted them to draft Kenyon Sadiq, and that was because we're weak at tight end, and they did take Joe Royer, the tight end out of Cincinnati, on day 5, pick 170.
He's a tall dude, isn't he? Isn't he like 6'5" or
6'5", 250. He's a big boy.
Yeah. Kind of your pseudo Timu version of Njoku potentially with that vertical leap and stuff. So
yeah, he's athletic. The thing for him is he's a little small technically for a tight end. He's big enough to be
nothing some creatine in the weight room can't fix, right?
Yeah, no, he can bulk up. He can get even bigger. He's decent for a blocking tight end, but he's also a very good pass catcher. He had 0 drops in 2025, which is, you know, when you draft Casey Concepcion, getting a guy that has 0 drops is very good. He's good. That's why I thought Sadiq would be the early pick for the Browns, because I know Todd Monken loved running 2 tight ends in Baltimore, where he had Isaiah Likely, where he had Mark Andrews. So it made sense to me that they would want to get another weapon in here. And he's a 5th-round pick, so I don't expect him to contribute early, again, as I mentioned with some of the other guys. But Joe Royer is a very good tight end, and I think he has a good potential to be on his team and contribute and, you know, come in on large package plays and you know, do some blocking and a couple catches. We'll see how he does. Then in round 6, the Browns take Taylon Green, the quarterback out of Arkansas, 6'5", 220, athletic as fuck. The only problem is he is a terrible passer. He led the nation in turnover.
We don't need that. We don't need that.
Yeah, he fumbles and throws interceptions a lot. So if he can figure out the turnovers, sky is the limit potential wise. But those turnovers, if you're that bad at it in college, odds of getting better in the pro
in the NFL.
it's only harder. So yeah, I don't know. A fun project. I think I could see him come in on some crazy packages and get a couple carries and maybe get some. He'll do the goal line sneaking and maybe like our own version of a tush push. But Other than that, I don't really know what kind of NFL future this kid has, if I'm being honest.
Maybe he works in the offseason, gets that passing down, see what
Yeah, I mean,
happens.
again, if he can get that figured out, sky's the limit. And he has to work his ass off, and that's it. And then with the Browns' final pick, they take Carson Ryan, another tight end, this one out of Brigham Young University. 6'3", 255, blocking tight end. That's pretty much it. He's not much of a athletic tight end.
A-Chain just got paid.
Devon A-Chain, the Dolphins.
4 years, $68 million extension.
I mean, good for the Dolphins. It's an interesting move. I don't understand what these teams are doing. Now, I know we're running out of time, so Kyle and I didn't have a chance to review the entire draft. We'll do that the next time we sit down and go do a show. But speaking of running backs on a bad team, one of the interesting picks of the night, which we talked about on draft night, was Jeremiah Love. And that's kind of what this situation is. Like, Miami
Arizona
is bare bones. Miami has nothing. Arizona is bare bones. They have nothing. Both have new coaches coming in. Both don't have their quarterback situation figured out. Both are going through a full rebuild, and the Dolphins are now paying a running back, which, okay. And then the Cardinals drafted one with a 3rd overall pick. The Dolphins keeping Achane makes sense because he's already there, but drafting a running back that early still doesn't make any sense to me for the Cardinals. I just think it was a bad decision for their franchise, but I digress. We'll talk about all this another time. One thing I do want to talk about, we just mentioned Duncan Robinson a little bit, or overall for the Browns draft. Sorry, we'll finish that up properly. Overall for the Browns draft, I'm giving it I know it's not a great score compared to everybody else, but I'm giving it a C+. I don't love the picks that we took. I feel like we lost a lot of value. And I think there's going to be a lot of that happening from the fans to those players, a lot of booing in a couple of years because I just don't love it. So you're in the ballpark. You're on the right track. I don't know. I know you're a fan of it.
I gave it a B. Like I said, I didn't think it was, as high as people. I mean, everywhere you read, even like the national perception is like, oh my God, Cleveland Browns top 4, killed it, drafted a great draft class. I think it's a B. I think they failed in round 1. I think they overreached in a couple later, but I still like the picks. I just didn't think that they had to take them there. But overall, I give it a B. Potentially, and it has potential.
Yeah, I mean, I'm I did. We'll talk.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the draft. Again, for me, it's a draft. I don't get too excited for the draft. You have to go on the field and actually be good. We've had many drafts where the night ends and I'm fired up. I'm like, this is the fucking best draft ever. We're going to be so good. And then we suck. Those guys get cut in 2 years, and that's right back to the drawing board. So I've learned to not get too excited, but I do think a lot of these players have the opportunity to have potential. But I'm more so, again, as I went back to, I'm more so concerned about the longevity of all of the people working for the Browns, like Todd Monken, like Andrew Berry, things like that, because Jimmy Haslam doesn't mess around. And if Jimmy's upset, he fires everybody. And I just feel like the Browns are kind of one step back, two steps back, one step forward kind of situation.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm not getting too excited is all I can say right now in our current situation as Browns fans. Really quick, we were talking about Duncan Robinson a little bit, and the Cavs are playing the Pistons tonight. Series is tied 2-2. Quick recap of the NBA playoffs with how the Cavs have been doing. I think it's safe to say they are looking like we expected them to look, and they're looking like everything we saw the last couple of years, where they're a little soft. They get bullied. One big thing to watch tonight against the Pistons is how they rebound, because they get beaten up pretty good on the road, especially by teams that can rebound. And if, God forbid, the Cavs win this series, if they go against the Knicks are one of the best rebounding teams in the NFL or in the NBA. So the Cavs better get their shit figured out. And I know we've been saying it for like 4 years in a row now, but they need to figure out their toughness, and they need to get tough now, because the further into the playoffs you go, it just gets harder. This is like Mortal Kombat. Every layer is just more difficult than the last. So get your shit together.
Yeah, but
get tough.
It's crazy. Those 2 games that they won, it's like they found their rebounding. They found their toughness a little bit, their grit, right? But
they just can't translate on the road for some reason. They are winless on the road so far in the playoffs.
I agree. What I get worried about though is when we find our grit and our whatever, we get in foul trouble quickly because we don't know how to still be aggressive and not be fouling people. Because I think the other day in game 3, Mobley had like 3 fouls within like the first quarter or whatever, and then we just can't play like that. So
no. And yeah, I mean, guys have to show up. You can't do stupid shit. Like Max Strus has a tendency to have really dumb fouls lately. That's like his new thing. He gets extra aggressive.
Man, though. A lot of energy. He's like the spirit.
And that's kind of how I feel about it. I look at it and I'm like, okay, these dumb fouls that happened at the inbound all the way across the court piss me off. But at the same time, we're winning the games he does that. So maybe it's doing something mentally to the other players. So for every minute that I hate it, I then have to sit back and go, okay, it didn't hurt us too bad. So we'll see what he does tonight. But again, we're on the road. I expect the whistles to be a little bit different.
What's your prediction?
In my personal opinion, whoever wins tonight wins the series. Because the way the Cavs have played, they're, again, as I mentioned, they're undefeated at home. They're winless on the road. So they need to win a road game in order to win this series. And if they're not doing it tonight, I don't think they're going to have the guts to do it in a game 7. So I feel like if they lose tonight, the series is over. The Cavs tonight is a must-win game to keep your season alive, in my opinion. If you're the Cavs, you've taken the last 2 games. The Pistons were riding high. They're kind of defeated. You need to keep that momentum going, and you need to put your foot on their neck and end them tonight. What's up with
the blowouts still, even in the playoffs? Like it's been like a thing all year. I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it.
There's something off with the NBA this year. Honest to God, it's been very weird. The amount of blowouts, and like you said, even in the playoffs, is crazy. You're in the playoffs. How you need to figure out how you're structuring your playoff brackets. Then, if there's such talent discrepancies between these teams that you're having blowouts in the second round of the playoffs, that's crazy. These games should be like less than 5-point spreads each game.
Yeah, 5 to 10 points, and
every round should be going 5 or 6 games, and it's really not the case. You have the Knicks and the Spurs, or I'm sorry, the Knicks and the Thunder. They swept already. They're done. They're going to sit around and wait for the next couple of weeks. They get to just chill and rest up, and that's just sad by the NBA that's your talent.
It's frustrating because, because I bet on it, you bet on it, but then you get such a close game, and then quarter 3, it just, and you're like, well, that sucks because now people are going to be sitting, they're going to pull their starters because why risk injuring someone because you need to take them deeper into playoffs, and all your bets are shot. I'm
speaking of
very, very mentality of the betting that I do with them, but still it's
no. I have a story just like that. That speaking of betting, that's what I was going to say. Is last night I had a parlay going, and that game was a blowout, and everything hit except for I had Rudy Gobert to get 6 rebounds, and it's late in the third quarter. He had 5, and I'm like, okay, he's 7 foot tall. He's going to get a rebound. I'm not really worried about it. So I sat there. They're offering me a cash out, but I'm like, no, this is a lock. I'm not taking that cash out. So then the fourth quarter starts. It's a 15 to 20 point game at this point, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh shit, he's sitting on the bench. If they keep being blown out, they're not going to put him back in the game. They're going to call it. So I looked back. I still had a cash out option. It was a little bit less, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm taking the cash out. As much as a pussy move that is. And then I swear to God, 2 seconds later, he checks into the game. And I'm like, damn it. He's going to get that 6th rebound, and I'm going to be pissed that I just cost myself double the money I could have won. And then next thing you know, he played for about 2 minutes. They continued to get blown out. He had 0 rebounds. He went to the bench, and I was like, oh, thank God I cashed out because I would have let that ride, and I would have lost. So
I agree. I was so pissed. I had one of those – I took a YOLO halftime bet, and it's a lot of players together, but it gave me a quick cash out at $200, and I was like, fuck. I tried to take it and it wouldn't let me take it for some reason. I was in a store shopping and it wouldn't let me take it. So all right, it's fine. I'll trust the system. Yeah, I missed it by 1 fucking assist. James Harden needed 1 more assist. That's whatever. That's what happened.
That's the life of gambling though. Yep. All right, everybody. We are going to wrap up. The Cavs game is getting ready to start. We have more stuff to talk about next time we get together. We'll have a real show for you guys. Sorry we've been MIA. Between people being sick, work schedules, obviously the Cavs playoff schedule, we've been obviously not trying to do a show up during games. So tonight we did this quick one for everybody just to at least give you something because I know you miss us. So we will get together maybe next week or the week after. I don't even know. I'll have to check schedules and everything. And we will do a full 2-hour show. We'll talk everything Cleveland, We have a lot to talk about with the Guardians. Again, they're in first place. Travis Bazzana is officially on the Guardians. He's playing every day. Pretty exciting stuff to talk about there. The whole NBA playoffs we have to talk about. There's still the whole Eastern and Western Conference Finals coming up and so much more. So we will talk about all that and then some. And we have Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini have had full lifetimes of stories we can talk about on the next episode. So much has happened, so many things. NBA players are dying left and right, apparently. So just craziness in the sports world. So much to get to. We'll talk about that and more next time on Talking About Balls. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, Cleveland, this was for you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.